Chase, I have a question for you. Given the option to have something stuck in your eye or in your teeth that you can't get out, like you're away from home, you've had lunch, you've got something in your teeth, it's stuck there, it's driving you crazy, you can't remove it. Do you want something stuck in your eye or
The
stuck in
other
your
option's
teeth?
eye. Like, I would much rather have something stuck in my teeth.
Yeah.
Like, not even a question. Like, I need my eyes to see things.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I
that you
mean,
could still.
tooth things annoy for sure. I have certainly had days where it's like, oh, you get that popcorn shell kernel in your, like, between your teeth or something. And like, I can't get that out, or like a piece of potato chip or something that's really wedged itself in there. Totally annoying. I get it, but I no, like, I is an immediate. I can't do anything.
I've had some, well, it's gone now, but I had something that was like in the bottom of my right eye
Ugh.
that like no matter what I did, and the problem is like I would rub it, and so then like the side of my eye got super like sensitive because I was like trying to get at it. And the other problem is that like I look at screens all day. You know this.
Sure.
Between work and between play, like I just look at screens, and so strain, fatigue, and then I also have been told by my optometrist like I don't blink enough. She thinks because like like if I'm playing, I don't know if you've like, do you pay attention to what your eyes do when you're playing a video game?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So like if you think about it, like I'm gonna fuck you up here, but if you think about when you're playing games, you're probably not blinking too much. Like you're watching a lot and taking things in.
Sure.
And
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
when because she asked me about like what I use my eyes and like how do I anyway, I was just like I had something in my eye, and I've definitely had something in my teeth before, but it's just
Yeah.
like they're both equally annoying for different reasons, absolutely different reasons.
Yeah, I don't think it's equal. They're both up there, but I is definitely worse.
Yeah, one is not like the other. Chase, this is the casual hour, as you know, but for those of you who might be watching, Chase and I make up the casual hour. This is episode 376. It is currently the 22nd of May, if you can believe that. And we've got a lot of stuff to talk to you about tonight. We've got a couple updates on some games. We're going to check in on what we've been playing, check in on probably Animal Well, a little V Rising update, but something new with Ghost of Tsushima and Crypt Master, which we streamed on Monday night. And then the news tonight, we're going to focus on one story. We're going to talk a lot about the rumored Sony handheld. And that's going to be kind of how we go about things moving forward. Because if you're new to the show, you can just skip this part, jump ahead. You don't need to know about our history. But if you're an old fan, you heard last week that was Johnny's last official episode with us on the Casual Hour. We wish him the best as he is now friend of the show status. But Chase and I had to come up with like, what the hell are we going to do? How do we want to do this? Do we move forward as we were? And I think there's a lot about our show that will continue. The Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule will be there. We're going to be live at 9 o'clock on those nights, pending any other family or work obligation. Fridays will be a little bit more just around me playing a video game, but friends of our show are more than welcome to join in. But you'll see me kind of maybe playing more long play. Like maybe I go a little bit longer than an hour. Maybe I play the same game for a few weeks on end with some story beats to kind of bring you on that journey with me. But there's things that we're already talking about. Our Discord is buzzing with some Mario Golf. We might dust that off and do it. So you can expect that Monday nights, Chase and I, we might mix up what we play. We kind of do more deck builders, run-based games. We love those. We'll continue to do those, but who knows? Maybe we'll do something a little bit more obscure, like a Crypt Master, and check that thing out. But for our meat and potatoes, some of the things that you can kind of expect from us, the What You've Been Playing episodes, the monthly preview, those are going to stay the same. But the news, we're probably going to focus on like one story, like one thing we want to get our hands into each week, unless it's something wild like a games festival. Maybe we talk about like if there's a big disruption, something like Xbox. Like they've been in the news a lot. We might spend some time covering a few stories there. But our deep dives, which we really enjoy, it's going to be kind of awkward with two people. So we're going to think about those a little bit differently. on how we move forward. But Game of the Year is going to be there, and we'll have people fill chairs. Like Johnny could show back up sometime. We've got friends like Pierce, Zoe, and Jiggy, who's been on a couple times. Like, we'll definitely hang out with them when we can. But Chase and I are thrilled and excited about the future. And I think that he and I are going to be able to get into a little bit more of a nuance. Like, I think that you should play this. And maybe I get to like drop a fucking trap card on Chase and say, like, you got to play this game.
Oh, we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Oh, hell yeah.
Hey, who knows? But what I feel like I'm missing something here with this.
No, I don't think you are. I'd say to sum it up, I'd say what we do is not changing, but maybe a little bit of how we do it is changing.
Yeah.
I think we will still have some type of deep dive content, and we'll figure out exactly what that means. We might change up how we do some of those things and the ways we pick topics or the frequency of some of that stuff. But like you said, we're still going to be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're still going to be doing monthly previews. We're still going to be doing our What You Been Playing and news segments. That stuff isn't changing, at least not, again, what we do, but maybe a little bit in the philosophy behind some of the stuff we do. Just, as two people, we can do that a little bit more. We don't have to spread ourselves over a third person and we don't have to worry about the timing so much of, oh God, we got to fit three people's opinions into everything. With just two, maybe we can spend a little bit more time on some stuff and let things breathe a little bit, which I'm all in favor for. I think it'll be fun to have some deeper conversations.
Absolutely. The one thing we didn't bring up is quick looks. Those probably will change more than anything else, just because Chase and I are the only two we were only the only two really doing quick looks to begin with, but I might do a few more solo quick looks here and there and bring Chase along if it's something I think he should see. Chase will always bring me along too if he's got something, but this week I was going to put out, you'll see like when we get to credits, there's two that I hope to have out. There's just been some stuff with family that I have been able to spend more time outside of work this week on. And I think that's kind of the crux of it, is that I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver on those. They're fun. We really enjoy them. We don't get a ton of traction on a lot of what we do, which is totally cool. But those are ones that I would say probably require the most work. And so I
probably like a fun bonus going forward.
Totally.
If you see one, hey, awesome, but I wouldn't expect them every week.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll call out really quick while we're talking about it, I'm still going to move at some point. We've been looking for months now for a house, and so we'll probably have a slight disruption when that happens, just as I'll be moving this. But there might be a time where you see us do this show on a Monday, and if you subscribe to any of our social channels, you'll see all of that get alerted. But we're going to be just what our title says, casual. And Chase and I have talked a little bit about like how we show up for each other. And as somebody who does a lot of the production and just moving and planning for the show, I want to have this be just something that he and I can both maintain with two people. So if there's something you really like that we do and you haven't ever reached out to us either on email, on social, or any of the other ways that you can, now is the time. So we're at The Casual Hour everywhere, thecasualhour@gmail.com. And if you go to thecasualhour.com, you get links to all that shit. Drop us a note. If you're listening to this on Spotify, there's a Q&A built in. Go right into it. I put it there every week. You can send us a message right through the app and we'll respond to it. And if you like what we're doing, drop us a like. Let us know. Tell us what you enjoy there. So I think that addresses what was, what will be, and all in between. Let's talk about some fucking video games. Chase, I finally picked up Animal Well again last night after a little bit of a break. I think you've probably blown past me. Let's check in on it. Where you at? How you liking it? Has it held your attention?
Yeah, well, first, if you picked it back up, I'd like to hear where you've gotten. So
I got that. I got the whistle, baby.
Okay, so the general goal of Animal Well is that there are 4 flames that are kind of in 4 corners of the map, and you got to go collect those and bring them back to the central hub area. So that's a decent way, and you can generally do them in any order. I think you might have to get some stuff from one place to go to another place to actually get the thing in some cases, but for the most part you can collect them in any order you want. So Bobby, how many of those flames do you have, and which
I
animals
have
of
one,
the
and it's the iguana, I believe, or
okay.
chameleon.
Okay.
I was focusing more on just grabbing gear than I was flames.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I was approaching it. But I've opened, I think I have 15 or 14 eggs. So I've opened one door, about to get a second door. I think that gives me something for the map, if I've heard correctly. And then,
Yeah, the second door is pretty disappointing, honestly.
damn. But yeah, that's
I
where
did
I'm at.
use it in one relatively critical time, but yeah, it's not the best thing. The first one that you get is awesome. Okay, so where I am, I've collected 4 flames now.
Oh, so
And
you're close to the end.
I think so. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know
you're
what
as
else
close to
there is in
credits
that
as
game.
like a game like this could be, which, I mean,
Sure.
we've heard that there's a lot of secrets to it, like Fez type secrets. So who the fuck knows what an end is here?
Yeah, but I think I'm relatively close to where the credits are.
I've heard the last
you,
area go is fucking brutal.
yeah, I dipped my toe a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do this tonight.
I don't know, like,
Um,
when I say that, I'm not saying maybe like from a skill level, but more subject matter. Like, I hear it's rough.
I think both.
Okay. Okay.
So I heard somebody say like this is a great game to play to get one flame a session and then to put it down, and I think I would generally go with that.
Wait, so like get a flame and stop playing?
Yeah, like stop playing for the night, like put
Okay.
it down, come back the next night, go for another flame.
Well, that's interesting because
Um,
the last time I played it, that's when I got, well, not this most recent one, but the last time is when I got a flame, and I hadn't played it since then.
yeah, so that's kind of what I did for the first 2 flames, and that felt good. And then last night I was like, well, I'm just gonna get one more, and then I'll be fine. And then I got one more, and I was like, well, let's.
Why not? Keep it going, baby.
I got this cool new item. Let's like at least get to a place in the 4th area and see if I can grab it. My 4th area was the chameleon, interestingly enough.
Oh, okay.
And so like, well, yeah, let's go a little bit further, and well, let's go a little bit further, and then I was like, oh shit, I did it. I got the 4th. And then I was like, well, I might as well see what's in this other area.
Why not?
Now that it's opened up, and so I didn't get much further in that because at that point it's like, oh god, I've been playing this for like 2.5 hours, and I'm tired, and my eyes hurt, and my brain.
Are you playing it
out.
handheld mostly or on dock?
I've been playing this all on TV so far.
Okay.
I picked it up in handheld mode just to kind of see it, and I think it looks nice. But I just like playing on the TV. I think it's just a better experience on a big TV.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Nice. That game's really cool and has some really cool puzzle design and some great ideas to it. There are definitely some places where I feel like, oh god, I have no idea what the fuck to do here.
And you've stayed away from guides and stuff, right? You're going into it.
So I did break down a little bit last night because
Sure.
there was just I think there was one spot. It was in the 3rd area that I went to, which was the dog or wolf area, and there was one thing where I could tell, oh, I don't have the tool to do this area.
That's the disc, I'm assuming, right?
No, so I had the disc. It's the slinky. I didn't have the slinky.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I was like, well, obviously I need to have something that's able to like press these buttons without me standing on them, and I just don't have that. And I know there's another item somewhere, I'm guessing. And so I finally broke down. I was like, I just tell me where this item is so I can go grab it real quick and then keep doing the puzzle. And I had to go to the chameleon area, grab that. It wasn't too hard, and then I came all the way back and kept going. So I haven't really used guides very much at all, which it's kind of new for me, especially for a puzzle game like this, where especially a Metroidvania puzzle game like this, where I am not the fan. I'm not a fan of backtracking, and I'm not a fan of like just messing around and wasting time in a game. I don't like poking around at stuff. I want to just do the thing. I want to experience the game.
Totally.
Because I got other fucking games to play,
Well, yeah, 100%. I get that.
Yeah. And so I got
wheel ain't gonna
Slinky
spin
and-
itself, like shit.
Yeah. I got the Slinky. I started going through that area. I'll tell you, the end of the wolf is fucked. Fuck that.
I've heard that.
Oh my god, it
I-
was such a bitch.
So I will share really quick. When I first was playing the game, I came across the disc,
Yeah.
and there's something that happens when you get the disc,
Yep.
and I thought,
I mean, they show it in the trailers.
okay,
You grab a disc and like a big
Indiana
ghost
Jones
dog
cat.
comes at you. It's very similar to like if you play too long of a level of Spelunky and the ghost comes out and
Yep,
just follows you everywhere. It's
yep.
it's not that it's also not an instant kill like it is for Spelunky, but it is you're gonna die eventually. And
Well,
it just kind of keeps chasing you. It's like a soft thing that is always following you until you're able to stop it through a
so
specific puzzle.
I I thought I was like, okay, I got to get somewhere. I got to take this thing somewhere, and I did look up early on. There is a way to like basically get rid of that,
Yeah,
but I ended up finding a fake disc,
right.
and I just swapped them out, and I never had to deal with it. But I
Yeah,
spent a good portion of my first time playing that game trying to outrun that cat.
yeah. Well, good news, Bobby. Even though you broke the game, no, you didn't. They will make you come back and do that right before you get the flame.
Cool.
Because that's what happened to me. Absolutely. Like I was able to do the swap. Felt like Indiana Jones. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is great, no
Yeah.
problem.
Fuck you, cat.
But yeah, then at the end they're like, no, 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 no. You gotta do
Yeah.
this, and it's not gonna be fun. That's
Damn.
that's where I use the map tool.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that game has been really really cool. Slightly frustrating in some spots, but for the most part, even for somebody like me who does not like Metroidvanias generally, I've been having a really good time with this. The puzzle design is smart. The game is just gorgeous. Like
It
I
really
really
is.
love all the ambient sounds and all the sound effect stuff that they do.
Yep.
Um, there's just so many great ideas in there, and I think especially the equipment that you get is so interesting.
It's
Like
Goonies, man. Data.
it'd be so easy to go with the tried and true Zelda stuff. You know, your bombs, your hook shots, your Kane Samarias. Uh, um, but for them to go, okay, what if you didn't have a cane that made a block? What if you had this slinky that can go down spaces? It can also act kind of as a block in certain parts, but in other parts you use it in a different way completely. And here's a
Yep.
yo-yo that functions that has physics that are incredibly different from anything else in the game. And how can you use that? I got the real disc, the pink
Mm-hmm.
disc, and just randomly, accidentally, as I was trying to do something else, I learned that you can jump on the disc
Yeah.
and you just ride it. You just
Yeah.
ride the disc as far as you want. And I
Yep.
go, holy shit! I didn't know you could do
Dude,
that.
it's one of those things. It's like this is such a cool thing for it.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact is, what you're talking about with even that, I think I want to point back to what's his name here, Billy Basso or Basso. He designed the game. He built an entire engine for this. The game's 38 megabytes, but some of the shit that's happening, like, it works so well. Like, this game runs like a fucking top. And again, it's a pixel game, but there's a lot happening with an environment that reacts to you. Like, even as I mentioned the last time we talked about the game, you can move if it's in window mode, it reacts to that movement. There's a lot happening, so I think it's easy to dismiss, like, oh, it's a pixel game because yeah, it's not going to be a lot. No, there's some incredible modern overlays. Riding that disc, like the way that it'll bounce off environments and stay on that path, and you can be on it forever. That's pretty fucking cool from a technical standpoint too.
Yeah. I know I mentioned it last week. I still don't love the save system. I don't love
It's
having
it's a
to
lot.
stop at these specific phones. I don't feel like there are enough phone save spots in the world.
Yep.
And a couple of times it really fucks you over. I'll tell you, um, to get that flame with the dog, cat, wolf thing. Oh, there were a lot of deaths and a lot of backtracking to just run it again.
That's
And
that's what Brad said on Nextlander or Vinny
yeah,
about that spot particularly.
it was tough. It
I get
had
it.
definitely had me thinking maybe I don't want to play this anymore.
I get it.
And and then I mean, it turned into a wild and great story of the way I actually did it at the end. Um, I was flying through it, doing everything I needed to do. I'm trying to be kind of general here, so I don't spoil anything for
Totally.
anybody. But I was doing it correctly. Everything was so smooth and so practiced. I was handling it no problem, and then I got to one spot that's right before the last leg, and and I fucked up and went, oh well, I fucked up there a number of times before, so I was like, okay, I'm ready for death. But on the off chance that I don't die, what if I tried this weird backtracky run? And I went through a number of different rooms that I did not have to do, that were not on the path, but it kind of took me a completely roundabout way, and I won on that run.
Hell yeah.
What? How in the fuck? How in the hell?
You
Like, could
got
I
you
mess
got
up
good.
so badly and yet somehow still come out on top? And it made for a great story. I kept thinking as I was doing it. At one point, I was like, well, this is my least moment of the year for game of the year. No problem. That's gonna go right up there. And then at the end, like when I actually got it in that crazy roundabout way where I was definitely not supposed to win, and that's the one that actually won, I went, maybe that is moment of the year. I don't know. Can it be both?
It can be both. There's no rules anymore now that Johnny's gone. We can do whatever
It's
we
true.
want.
Oh yeah, he was such a rule follower.
Listen.
Uh,
Uh
but that's been
Animal
going well to
Well.
me. I've been having a
Okay.
great time with it. I think I'm gonna try to play more over the weekend and hopefully finish
Yeah.
it. I want to
Uh,
know what this last area looks like and how long it is. I kind of want to just wrap it up and get it put to bed.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I have zero interest in finding all the eggs
I'm gonna
or
do a YouTube video for that and just see what it is.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I might check in on any kind of like Fez style ARG thing.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Hey,
I
if
just
you
kind of want to enjoy the game and then be done.
well, you got just in time another Metroidvania potentially coming out from the Dead Cells devs with that new Prince of Persia they got coming out.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting to me. I feel like I'd play the other Prince of Persia game that came
I
out this
know.
year.
It's
The
so
other
good.
Metroidvania Prince of Persia game that came
I
out.
don't, dude. Goddamn.
Um,
Maybe best
but
Metroidvania will be something to talk about. That's
how about
Animal
you? What have you
Well.
been playing?
A quick check-in. My dogs are cheering me on. I think my wife just got home. A quick check-in. I just cleared Act 1 on V Rising, which means I've cleared out all the enemies up to level 40. And I got to tell you, that game's been fucking phenomenal.
So when you clear out enemies, are they gone forever or
No, they respawn because you can have people join you. This game's also coming out in a few weeks. They said June 11th on PlayStation. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Chase. But I've got the castle going really well, and I've gotten a bunch of new gear, and that's one of my favorite things I played this year. So I'm gonna stream it on Friday. Tune in. I'll show you the castle, and I'll give you a rundown of like what's up ahead because it really spikes up. You start to get some really cool stuff on that. So I've been mostly playing V Rising, but I have had some time. Every night this week, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. This game came out a long time ago on PlayStation 4, but they just ported it on May 16th. This came from Sucker Punch, published by Sony. It's on PC now. I liked a lot of that game when it came out, Chase, but I found myself saying, well, I really want this to be Assassin's Creed. And then Assassin's Creed was no longer Assassin's Creed.
yeah?
And then I think looking back now, maybe I mistreated Ghost of Tsushima because playing it, I have had I'm having such a great time. Like,
Yeah.
first and foremost, if you have a capable PC, I'm saying one that you can run full tilt 4K, all settings maxed out. This and Horizon, like Horizon, I think looks a little bit better, slight edge. This is a cinematic masterpiece of a game. Like, it looked great on PS4. Like, running this thing at like full 4K 60, it is remarkable. It's insane how good it is. I'm playing it with the DualSense on my PC, so I get all those bells and whistles with it, which feels great. This is the director's cut, so all the DLC and all that shit's in it. It has the Legends mode, which I never played. I'm honestly very curious about that because that's the, like, I think 3 to 4 team kind of PvE mode where you go in and do some cool shit. But the story is just, I forgot how well written the story is and how well it's acted. I don't need to unpack much more than this. I'm just here to say The game runs without a hitch. I've not encountered any bugs. It is a beautiful port. It's sitting at a very positive on Steam with almost 12,000 reviews out. So definitely worth checking out. If you have never had the means to play it here. I haven't done it in handheld, but people have said that it actually runs pretty well on the Steam Deck. I don't think that's going to matter too much for folks. Like if that's your only way to play this game, do it. But it is very fucking cool. It's also the first PlayStation game that I've seen use in beta the new PlayStation overlay. So the way that if you've seen this on your PC, you can actually bring up like an Xbox dashboard when you're playing to like get into your party chat. You can actually do the same thing now for your friends list on PlayStation, but it also syncs up your trophies. So if I get something here, I get a Steam award, or achievement, and then I also get the PlayStation trophy for playing it this way, which is cool.
Okay.
So if you have it, check it out. I think it's a $60 game on Steam. Very neat.
It's interesting to see this come back and how people are responding to it, because we've had a number of third-person action games that are set in like an East Asian style recently. You know, we had Ghost of Tsushima, we had Sekiro, we had that Wo Long, which is Chinese history, not Japanese history, so it's different, but both East Asian.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we've got the Assassin's Creed one that was just announced.
Yep.
So I feel like we've had a lot of saturation for this area. Trek to Yomi.
Yeah.
Also,
Yep.
if you want a bad example.
Yep.
But like people have definitely been playing in this space with third person style action games, and for this one to come back and get this kind of reception, and you know they've had a lot of time to work out all the bugs. Like when you go, oh, it's bug free, it's like, well, yeah, I fucking hope it would be.
Well, yeah.
Like,
they haven't had the easiest journey for ports, I should say.
Yeah, I mean you're ported to a new system as well, and that certainly has potential to throw things off. So it's definitely an accomplishment not to have a very smooth playing experience, but it's cool to see games allowed to be reevaluated. I had this with Mario versus Donkey Kong. Like that was a Game Boy game from 20 years ago, and I never played it. But like, here is an opportunity to come back and experience it. We had Super Mario RPG came out earlier this year, which I still haven't gotten back to. But
and we're 2 days away from Paper Mario.
Sure, yeah, and I'm excited to get back to that one too, and have that opportunity. So I think it's nice for people to, like, as I've always banged the drum for preservation, and while Ghost of Tsushima is not in danger of not being preserved, like it's a relatively new game still. It's on you can play it on current consoles as well as the PC port that just came out, but it is nice to see a game like that get a second life and to get a second chance from a lot of players to experience it.
That's the main reason I bought it.
First time.
Like I never finished it, so I want to do that. 2, I had moved from 360 to PS4 because the Xbox One didn't appeal to me when it first came out, and then they put out the Xbox One X, and I really liked what they were doing. Game Pass was coming around, so I jumped back over to Xbox. I started building my library, so I had a fragmented library last gen, and I have the Switch still, and I have a PS5, but anytime I can get the games that meant something to me on, like I just bought Eastward recently, and I picked up Hi-Fi Rush to own it on Steam. My Steam library's got games from, almost 2 decades ago in it. And while I might not be able to play everything to the same degree I once did, I at least have that library where I potentially could find a piece of hardware to play. I have the games there. So I'm building my library out. This is where I'm a PC enthusiast now. I've got a handheld PC. That's where I want to play my games for the most part. But check that one out. It's really fucking cool. And the last thing I'll talk about is one that I will just tell you all, go check out a video. Like, go check this thing out in person. Chase and I streamed it on Monday. Had a hell of a time playing it. Cryptmaster came out on May 9th from Paul Hart, Lee Williams. It's published by Akupura Games. It'll set you back. There's a demo for it, first of all, but it's $25. This is a pretty amazing little indie. I think. We talked a lot about Typing of the Dead. What else did we compare this to when we were streaming it? There's a few games, I think.
Yeah, there were a handful.
It's a type-based dungeon crawler, first-person dungeon crawler that has movement that is almost like turn-based. Think like Cadence of Hyrule or Crypt of the Necrodancer. Like when you tap, you just move up. You can
Yeah,
left.
like Ultima, I think
Yeah,
is probably the best example to go to of like that first person dungeon crawl that it's basically like if you were the that screensaver for Windows where you're going
yeah,
through the 3D menus.
100%. You are dealing with a quote unquote dungeon master. You are a dead individual. You have 4 party members. So I don't really know what your role in this is or how you have them, but there's a warrior, there's a rogue thief, there's a bard, and then there's a witch. And you are finding chests that have like hangman style. Hey, it's 4 or 5 letters. You can ask, I think, 3 or 4 questions of the dungeon master, like look at it, feel it, and they'll describe to you what it is, and you can guess. And when you guess it, it'll give you those letters, and then those letters go down to your characters and fill out smaller areas, like 3, 4, 5 letters that unlock abilities. And as you encounter things in the environment, you are quickly typing out things like hit, things like murder, things like, what was the one that our bard said that you liked so much?
Jostle. Yeah,
Jostle.
I was like soothe.
We use soothe a lot.
Jostle's the one that we like. Yes, Jostle's great.
I think for an indie game too, the writing has been and the voice acting pretty fucking great.
Yeah, and also just the variety of responses that you'll get. I mean, we are unfortunately in a world of generative AI. You get a lot of chatbots there that are responding to you. I have no idea if AI is in this game. I don't think
it's not. They're actually
very handcrafted.
Yep, it is.
But they've definitely considered a lot of responses that people might have when it comes to things the question was like it's a 5-letter word. It's pointy at one end and fluffy at the other, and we were just struggling so hard on what the hell this could be. And I'm like, well, maybe it's like a quill, like a pen.
Yeah.
And they had a response for that of like, well, no, it's not that, but like, come on, help me out here.
Yeah.
And you finally thought of it, and it was like, oh, it's an arrow. And like, yeah, okay, great, perfect. But like there were just some also times where you went a little rogue, and you might have said some filthy stuff to the computer.
I did.
And it not only accepted it and commented on it, but it ended up being the answer to a puzzle.
I know.
Maybe one of many answers to a
puzzle. I know. It's so fucking cool.
The idea that it was considered of like, oh, a player might put this in, and I'm going to not only have a response to it, I'm going to make it something that actually works in the mechanics of the video game. I think that stuff is really cool. It's got a bit of Wordle to it. As you guess words and things like that. It's like for being an RPG, there's no leveling to it, which I think is also interesting. The levels are basically the spells that you get or the abilities that you get, and those are all based on the letters that you find through chests and things like that. Even your health bar for each character are just the letters of their name. So the warrior has a longer name than the bard, who has lower health. And I think a lot of that stuff is extremely smart and
100%.
And also just pretty funny. The writing is pretty darn solid, and the comedic timing of some of that, the character designs, the enemy designs, it's just a lot of like really smart ideas packed into one game.
I'm gonna see. So wow, they've published the Acapara. They've put out Rain World. I've heard a lot about that. Grime, I think we talked about. They've put out what's another one here? Cardboard Kings, game that we both like a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like they've got a shit ton of games that they've published. They're cooking over there. And this is one that I think it came out around the same time that Animal Well did. So if you have been under a rock, Animal Well was the internet's indie darling and still continues to be. But this one's sitting at a very positive as well, and it's got a lot of downloads for what it is. I could see us dusting this off another Monday. I really liked having you kind of calling out the shots when we were in battle.
Yeah, that seemed helpful.
And I was like, great, okay, murder, great, hit, great, block, boot, whatever.
Also, this game has controller support somehow. We should try it with controller.
I was just thinking about that because like, am I gonna have to be like on-screen keyboard moving around and like?
Oh, I can't imagine that being fun. But considering all the other ways they've made this game fun, maybe that's something.
I wonder if something like the Switch would get this, and they could figure out a way to do like a picture-in-picture mode when you're in battle, and you could just type on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing in handheld mode, that Switch has a touchscreen. You could just put a keyboard at the bottom of it if you wanted to. But
I don't know.
Really, really interested to see what that controller support actually means,
and we'll test it out.
Becomes a fun experience.
So just to recap for anybody who is tuning in at this point in time, we covered Animal Well, checked in on that. We gave you a brief check-in on my time with V-Rising. We talked about Cryptmaster. Both V-Rising and Cryptmaster you can check out. A friend of the show, Pierce, joined us last Friday. So you can watch a VOD on where we got to. And then you can check out our stream for the Cryptmaster that we did. I will probably, I'm strongly considering moving Ghost of Tsushima over to a Friday night stream and maybe playing through some of that. I think that could be a lot of fun on just like leveling up that and showing it off.
Sure.
So stay tuned to our socials. I'll let you know what that looks like. But I think eventually we might quick look one or two of those games down the line. Who knows? Chase, speaking of handheld stuff, why don't we get into it? I'm chomping at the bit to talk to you about this.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk about Sony and the potential for a new handheld. I guess there have been some rumors out there that they are manufacturing one, that it hasn't been completely greenlit that this thing's going to really happen, but it's in the works and it might be happening based on the strategy that's been done. But to go back a bit, this seems like it's a bit on the heels of the unfathomably, impossibly against all odds popularity of the PlayStation Portal, which is something that when we first saw it made us laugh out loud. If you don't know what the PlayStation Portal
I mean, I still kind of laugh at it. Let's be real.
I do too. And if I knew anybody who bought one, I would laugh at them. But for people who don't know what a PlayStation Portal is, basically the idea is, what if you had an iPad, and then on either end of the iPad that you're holding in like landscape mode, you cracked your DualSense controller for your PS5 in half, and you jammed each side of the controller into each end of the landscape view iPad.
It's something.
Which is fine. Like, okay, that's a really good controller. That makes some sense that you'd want to keep that controller. A nice flat iPad screen, great, sure. So what kind of games am I playing on it? What did they build for it? And the answer is they didn't build any games for it, because the only thing this does is connects to your actual PS5, and it's a remote play only experience.
It's just remote play. That's all this thing is, man.
Which to me is why would you do that? What's the point of having the point for me of having a handheld is that I can take it with me wherever I go. And
I agree.
You cannot do that with this.
No,
because it's
not even a little bit.
Device. If you get out of Wi-Fi range, it's a brick. You can't do anything with it.
Well, some people have hacked it, of course.
Sure, but like, again, it's not built to run these games natively. So
no,
like it's the things it can do on its own. Even a hacked version are still going to be relatively limited compared to something like a Steam Deck.
I think it's also worth noting, and I want to shit on this thing purely from a physical build quality. I've heard that it's actually a very solid device. Like,
totally believe it.
Built really well. Functionally, though, not so much. But it's crafted very well, from what I've heard.
So it's been weirdly popular. It keeps selling out, and I don't think they've made a ton of these, because I even think Sony didn't expect this thing to do well. But it keeps selling out every time it goes on sale.
If you think about everything Sony puts out from an accessory standpoint, that's their controllers, which they've got a lot. That's the the plates to change the way the PS5 looks. That's the disc drive for it now. They've got multiple. They got the DualSense Edge. They've got multiple SKUs for headphones. They've put out a lot of accessories for the PS5. Headsets. This thing has equated to a 25% increase in their line items for accessories sold in the PS5 era, which is pretty fucking crazy to think about, considering out of all the shit they sell, VR included, this one seemed like the least needed compared to anything else they put out.
And it's $200. Like,
it's $200.
$200.
Which I think is the same. It's close to the same amount as the DualSense Edge, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think.
Which is wild to me. I mean, they're definitely not the same thing, but you can pay a little bit more money and get an analog pocket, something that you can take with you everywhere and play whatever. Certainly you're not getting the
there's a Sony branded backbone, which you have to have a phone. So obviously that phone costs a lot of money, but the backbone's $99. It's a hell of a thing, and they've got one branded with all the from Sony that has all the Sony face buttons on it that you can hook your phone up to, and literally do this even when you're not on Wi-Fi, which is fucking great. If you want that.
So yeah, we have been making fun of it. It has very limited use cases. I guess hey, your wife wants to watch something on TV and you can play your PS5 games on the couch while the TV's in use, or you have a kid and they want to play it while you watch the ball game or whatever. But again, it just feels so limited and feels so weird. But it has been really popular, and it sounds like Sony is kind of taking that under consideration when they think, well, maybe we should make another run at handhelds, which they have a history of making handhelds.
Some of the best, right?
At least some of the best hardware. Like we had the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, which was a really interesting system. I think hardware-wise, there were some issues. Like people didn't like the control nub, and there was only one of them. It wasn't. You couldn't cleanly port over PlayStation 1 games or any kind of PlayStation game because you didn't have the dual analog sticks on it. That was a big issue. But it also just had a lot of really interesting software that came with it. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is one of my favorite games. Not just on the PSP, anywhere.
I think I played a full Killzone game on one of those. Vita, maybe?
Yeah, on Vita you definitely did. There was a Killzone on Vita. I don't know if there was a Killzone on
I don't think there was.
PSP. But there were a lot of cool games that showed up on PSP, and it had to kind of be its own thing because you only had the one stick. And for me, I thought that was really cool because I really like handheld games. I've had a podcast. I guess I still kind of have a podcast called Gamers on the Go that I sometimes
do. That thing's not dead.
It's just sleeping. It's just a little dormant. But like the drum I kept banging is that I didn't like handheld games that were just ports of bigger games.
You wanted an experience.
If you're going to make a handheld game, you have to think about why you're making it. One of the reasons I really like Pokemon and latched onto it so much, not just the cool creatures and all that stuff, but it's that when I played it, I was on the couch while my parents were watching TV, and if they needed me for something and they called me, I could just take my hands off the system and nothing's going to change. It's a turn-based RPG, and I could look up and be fine. Or in the most desperate times as a kid, we're driving in the car at night, my worm light has broken or whatever, and I'm having to press some buttons furiously as you go past the street lights to just
look. We can make it home with one worm light. Okay.
Yes. But I always appreciated that. Okay, you built an experience that was made for portable play, and I think because of the PSP's unique design, it ended up having a lot of interesting games that were specifically made for that kind of portable play. I think of like a Loco Roco and games like that, Patapon. And then we got their second attempt, which was the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
Vita means life, obviously.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And they fixed the biggest problem with the PSP, and that it didn't have that second analog stick, and now it had two relatively nice analog sticks. It had this OLED screen that was very pretty, and it got a ton of games, and it also got a ton of ports. Now it didn't have dual bumpers, didn't have bumpers and triggers. It just had
It had
an
like a
L and R
touch
button.
thing on the back, right?
It did have like a touch pad thing on the back, yeah.
Yeah.
That developers kind of tried to use in a simpler in a similar sense. So that one ended up getting a lot more ports, especially after the initial batch of games. I would say didn't do all that well. People were really impressed with the hardware, but I think the software was lacking a little bit, or it just wasn't catching on with people. And so what I feel like the Vita's downfall was is that once you got past that, oh well, I guess we're not going to put our effort into building a bunch of really cool, unique games for it. It's let's make a bunch of ports on the top end, and then leave it for the indies on the
Yeah.
bottom end. And the indies fucking killed it. And I knew some people at PlayStation who were like developer outreach people, and that system just became the indie machine. Let's go
Mm-hmm.
find as many cool indies as we can and get them to this system. I think of like a Loop browsers from Blambeer
Yeah.
as being like a high one, but plenty of other games as well. And that worked out for them, but also it just wasn't like that's not a way to sell a bunch
Well,
of systems.
there was also at the time though they had. So I got a Vita because I jumped, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, when I jumped from Xbox to PS4. I was seeing like, hey, you're gonna be able to do remote play on a Vita
Yeah,
if you with the PS4, and I was like, at the time, I was living in a situation where like I had just a console set up in the living room, and I was like, I could be up in my room, or I could be at work, and I could Wi-Fi in, and so I just went down and I got one of the last packages they had at the GameStop at the mall when I was working in the mall, and I picked up the Killzone game for it because I was excited about the one that was coming out launching on the PS4, and I was like, cool, I'll get that and do it. And I think I got Spelunky on it, and I played
yep,
Spelunky there as well. But it was that moment where I was like, oh shit, Sony's got it figured out. They're gonna give me a console at home and they're gonna let me play my games on the go, which is what I wanted. And I think I had it, it was capable. I did not activate it, but I'm pretty sure that mine had LTE if I wanted to have
yeah.
like a cell
You
phone
could
plan
you could
for
get
it.
an option with that.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to yours, but in a slightly different way. One of the main ways that I ended up playing my Vita for a while is that I got we did a deep dive on this
Yeah.
weird piece of hardware, but the Sony made a thing called the PlayStation TV. In
Mm-hmm.
Japan, it was called the PlayStation Vita TV, and the whole point was that it's a Vita that didn't really have a screen and it connected to your TV, and you could play Vita
And do the
games on your
remote
TV.
play there too.
And you could do remote play, and you could also just pop out your memory card and put it
Yep.
into the PlayStation TV and keep playing your stuff that way. So one of the things that I did a lot is that I had one of the MLB The Show games,
Mm-hmm.
the 17, whichever one had Yasiel Puig on it. Person who does not play Major League Baseball anymore.
Oh, sure.
um, but but like the thing I would do, I would pop that in. I'd play it on the TV at home in my apartment. It certainly didn't look as nice as the one that you could get on
Yeah.
PS4. But what I could do is then take that memory card, slap it into my Vita, go to work, and
Mm-hmm.
then over my lunch break, I could keep playing from that exact same spot
Yep.
and then bring it home. And that was such a cool thing
Totally.
until Nintendo said, "Yeah, yeah. What if you just had one system that did that? You
Dude,
didn't have to transfer anything. What if you
we
just had
we are
like one
having
thing that
this
was home?"
conversation because of the Switch. Guaranteed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Switch
Yeah.
kind of came in, and I would say it was the real death knell for the Vita. Of
Yeah.
it's got all the stuff the Vita has, but it also just does it better. And the
You
way
play
it,
real
it
games. You can play the new Zelda game in handheld or at
let's
home.
not say real games. That's
Sorry. I mean,
handheld games are real games.
I know
But
that's the
I
wrong
understand
word.
what you mean. You got both. It was
Yeah.
everything. Like the
Yeah.
idea of the versatility of the Switch of being able to just put it into the dock and then take that thing out with you and just take the Switch with you wherever you
Hmm.
go. Um, it was awesome. And I think, the Vita was already in a not great spot.
Sure.
And then Nintendo came in and was like, well, we absolutely are just going to eat your lunch. And then Sony got out. It's like, hey,
Well, they started to go towards
we're going to
VR.
focus. Yeah, we're going to focus on VR. We're going to focus
Yeah.
on doing more powerful consoles like the PS5, like we have been. We're going to stick with the home console market.
And the VR bet worked well last gen for them, I think.
For a while, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. For a while, it worked. Um, and so I just figured, like, okay, that Sony's out of it now. They made two interesting systems, and then it didn't work out for them completely, and now they're just going to call it a day.
Yep.
But now with the PlayStation Portal doing well, and this thought of having a new handheld system, I'm really curious onto what that thing could be, and what we would get out of it. Is this just going to be a
Well,
portable PS5?
let me give you what we know so far allegedly
Sure.
here, Chase. Like the new patent hints. By the way, a lot of this reporting comes from a few sources. Mike Straw from Insider Gaming, and then Zarmena Khan from PlayStation Lifestyle, who we'll be referencing here. But the new patent hints at a potential new PlayStation handheld device, drawing inspiration from previous models like the Vita. The patent suggests a focus on cloud gaming integration, improving gameplay inputs and response time for a seamless gaming experience, while the latest rumor claims it will be able to run natively PS4 games. There was some other stuff talking about some sort of like resolution upscaling or something with the cloud and maybe get a PS5 game somehow on it. But the big thing here is that they're touting seamless gameplay experiences across devices, which is great. I think they have to have that. The speculations of the handheld release may not impact future PlayStation home consoles like the PS5 Pro in 2024. But this was all kind of leaked on YouTube from Moore's Law is Dead. MLD is he's had a track record of talking about other shit on his YouTube channel, but I think like you can go and find that there, stating it's going to have an AMD APU, currently in the high level design phase and at least 2 years out, and technically not greenlit for launch yet. So all this could fall apart, but heavily rumored right now. I should also say Microsoft's rumored to do a handheld Xbox. Nintendo's about to drop sometime in fiscal 2025.
They've announced an announcement
Yeah.
for the Switch 2, or
Like
whatever,
we know that's
whatever
coming.
they're going to do. It might not be the Switch 2 exactly, but
But it seems like every week there's a new PC handheld popping up. The Steam Deck is the king right now. I use the ROG Ally. I like it a whole lot. But everything's kind of saying like, here's where it's going. So I have one prediction, and it's a bold one. I think that there's a reality potentially where like maybe Netflix is built into this thing in a way. And like the Netflix game library could be accessible on this device. Like you could watch movies on it. You could play some of those games if you're subbed into it. I could even see them opening up new storefronts for it. It'll be interesting to see how something like this plays into their tiered services. Like, will they give you games for this if you sub into PlayStation? Maybe they really go more Game Pass. Maybe there's some stuff that happens where it's like, hey, our library is available on any of your consoles. You can sub into it and have that here. I can see that being a case too.
And you mentioned the cloud gaming stuff. It was a while ago, but they bought Gaikai, which
Yeah.
is now all their cloud gaming stuff. So like they have the ability to do those services, and we've seen cloud gaming stuff work on the Switch. It's not my favorite, but we've seen the newest Resident Evil titles show up on the Switch.
Control.
As something that you could, like, Control showed up on the Switch.
Yeah.
I would not say those are the best ways to play those games.
If it's your only way though.
But yeah, exactly. And so my thing, if this thing is still 2-ish years out, and the specs that they are aiming for is a handheld PS4, I think that's too late.
I did too.
What are you going to put on that system that excites people? Because I don't think they're going to put a bunch of original content on there. That's just the cynic in me. That's what I'd like to see. But I don't think you're going to make a bunch of games that are specific for it. Or maybe you do at the beginning and then you just stop.
The one thing that I think it needs to be able to do is it needs to be dockable. I think that's an important thing here to call out. The other thing I'll mention, we haven't talked a lot about this in the show. We haven't talked a lot about this outside of the show either. Right now on my iPhone, I have the latest Pro model from Apple, I can go and download the newest Resident Evil game, the newest Assassin's Creed game, and I can play those with like literally like natively on the iPhone. So if an iPhone is capable of running those games with Apple's chipset, and they're making incredible mobile chips, like I will give them that kudos, and that's where I'll stop. They will be able to potentially, Sony could find a way to do something similar. Like those are games that are like, that's a PS5 game, that's an Xbox Series X game right now. So if there's potentially, but battery life and stuff like that, it's very different. Like there's a lot more going on there, and Apple's had years of building their own chipset and silicon to do this stuff. But if my iPhone can run it with a backbone attached to it, I think there's something to be said there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for my purposes, I need this. Like the cloud gaming stuff does not do anything for me
Because
because
when
again,
you would play it, you're going to be in a spot with no internet.
right? Like that's exactly right. If I want to be on the go, I want to be on the bus, I want to be,
Yep.
visiting my parents' place, and they don't have
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Like you need something
Um,
that you can load something onto and spend a weekend playing it without internet.
right, and if the case is okay, there's PS4 games and down, and also some other stuff that maybe specifically is made for this system that you can play uh, offline. And then if you want to connect to play PS5 games or other stuff and connect remote play that way, as an option when you are connected to Wi-Fi or you are on a network, I could kind of get around and deal with that. But it's tough. I think to have a system that really is just going to be able to play PS4 kind of games. Um, Now, the stuff we've been hearing through the grapevine for the Switch 2 is that power wise, it's probably going to be around a PlayStation
Yeah.
4 or a PlayStation 4 Pro. I think is what I heard it being aimed at. And so if you can get games that can be ported to both a Switch and whatever this Sony handheld is, then maybe you have something of, hey, there are going to be brand new games on this thing.
I think the thing, man, that I feel it has to do well, and this is me speaking to you. This is me like filtering myself through you.
Mhm.
This has to be as simple as the Switch for
Yeah,
you
oh,
to
totally.
because I think that's the thing that like anytime you and I have talked about like, and you have a Steam Deck and I've got all this other dumb shit, but it always comes down to I can just grab this thing. I've got my game right here. I click it, it opens up, it goes. I can put it on my TV. I can put it in my bag. I'm set. If this device for Chase Kinnicky, speaking to you, doesn't have that level of ease of use to it, I don't think it's going to win you over. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've paid my dues before. I've
Yeah.
I've connected a PSP to a television using a bunch of dumbass cables,
Yeah.
to be able to make that work, and it's cool that you can do it. I bought that fucking PlayStation TV that nobody else bought, and I had a good time with it. I've definitely messed with a lot of different things. I've got my analog pocket, which
Yeah.
does connect to a dock, which can connect to the television, so I can play things that way, and I have done that a couple times. But none of those things are as simple and intuitive as the Switch.
Yep.
It just make things
It just
easier.
works.
It really does
Yeah.
just work, and even though a Steam Deck works quite well
Yeah.
in so many different cases, there is still just enough of PC jank with it,
Mm-hmm.
that I just haven't been playing my Steam Deck.
I get
It's
it.
just easier to grab a Switch because I
Totally.
know everything's going to work. I know it's in a closed system, which a lot of people don't really like, but the closed system makes it work.
Yeah.
Like
True.
they have like a way to show the content. They know that everything is going to work on the same kind of hardware, and it just works. Now you do get really poor performance in games like um, um, God. Now I can't even
Are
remember.
you?
Ayuden Chronicles.
Yeah.
Like I'm still having some bad performance issues with that game, but for the most part, like the games that get put on there are games that run pretty solidly, and it's not an issue, and
Totally.
that's great for me.
So I think we're going to keep an eye out for those rumors. It's a ways out. It could not be anything, but I did enjoy taking a little bit of a deeper like history of like what got us here with. I think this is a very interesting pivot for them. Let me get us over to credits and we'll wrap this show up tonight. Again, we've outlined a lot of the changes for our show so far. And this week alone, you might not see all these go up. Maybe you get a few quick fixes at the end of the week, who knows. But we checked out Cryptmaster. Go watch that VOD. We talked a lot about that game tonight. It rules. We've got a recording for another Crab's Treasure. That's up on YouTube. I just have to make it live and get it out there to you all. We had a great episode of What You've Been Playing Tonight for 376. I'm going to make a quick look for Rogue Voltage. That's another game that Chase and I have played on Monday, so go watch that VOD. And then this Friday, I will be live with V Rising, showing off Act 2 and the new castle. You can follow along with all of our stuff right there. And I'm also on the internet if you want to find out where I'm at. But this is about Chase. And Chase, where can people find you and what do you got going on?
Yeah, I've got a couple things I do. I just realized that I never posted about my new episode.
Oh, shit. Better late than never, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll post about it tomorrow, but I can talk about it now. It's out. I've got a YouTube channel called HK Plays, and I'm playing through Advanced Wars 2, Black Hole Rising right now, in a series I call Black Hole, Son.
Hell yeah.
And episode 3 came out today, and tell you, shit went bad.
It does.
It's a lot of fun. I really like playing that game. Seeing more about it. Advanced Wars is a game series that means so much to me, and for whatever reason, I just did not play that much of the second game. So it's been cool to come back to it and to remember units and remember people and to have that kind of nostalgia trip. So go check that out on Chasing K Plays. And then I also have a YouTube, or not a YouTube, I have a podcast that I do with our good friend of the show, Pierce Porshane, which we talked about earlier. That podcast is called Pilot Program, where Pierce and I watch the first episode of every television show ever made. Our last episode was on One Punch Man, and our episode that is recording, I think it's recording tomorrow or yesterday, I guess, if you're listening to the Friday edition of this. But that episode is going to be on Freaks and Geeks.
Cool.
I'm very excited to revisit
Hell yeah.
With Pierce. I've got a big batch of notes, and so does he. We're bringing in our first guest, one of Pierce's friends named Steve. So interested to see how that goes and what Steve's thoughts are on the show, and that'll be exciting. And I'm also excited about the next episode that we're going to be doing after that. Hopefully, we'll announce that in that episode. So go check that out. Shows.acast.com/pilot program. That new episode I'll probably get out sometime this weekend or early next week.
Oh yeah. This has been 376. We'll be back Friday with some V Rising. Tune in and say what's up to me and check